welcome to the second part of our Fragments of Silicon Review for the week. Um, this time around, we are reviewing. We've had some debate on this. I'm sure the developer will correct us when it eventually reaches back to them. But since we don't really have a pronunciation sheet to work off of, it's either forma.8 or formulate. I'm going with formulate because that's an actual word.
Yeah, I think forma is supposed to be the things that you're controlling, the little round head things. But
Well,
yeah, I don't know.
yeah, or it's forma.8. You know, maybe like version 0.8. Like, there's definitely some meaning going on with the title. It's not immediately clear what it is, and the lack of clarity is kind of what defines the game. Um, yeah, it's one of those where you're pretty much tossed in there with nothing, like no direction, nothing. You are a floating head probe.
One of a
That
bunch
is,
of them.
yeah, that is heavily damaged, and you are flying about this alien world trying to discover whatever it is you're trying to discover, or whatever, or try to get off, or it's not exactly clear what the goals are. And I'll say this game has a conveyance issue in that regard, and even when things happen, you're never really clear on what's going on. Like, honestly, I didn't learn about what was going on until I read the achievement for what I got. I mean, that's the style it's going for. It's a very, I'm sure if you can see the trailer that's playing in the video window, it's got a very stark, minimalist vibe to it. Lots of solid, solid, striking colors. Um, um, Makes it stand out, aesthetically speaking.
Uh-huh.
In fact, I'd say aesthetics is what the game has most going on here. Like, it's not just the look of the game. The sound is very, you know, is very minimalistic, a minimalistic electronica. A lot of atonal ambient sounds and stuff. It can, in some Bay Area relaxation music as well. Think Pure Moods and stuff like that. If people even know what that, like, it's something that you could fall asleep to.
I did.
You're also sick, so
A little bit, yeah.
That is until you really get into the game, and so let's get into it. This game is not. It should be better than it actually is, and that comes down to the controls and especially the combat. For as beautiful looking and as exploratory as the game gets at points, the main thing you're going to be doing in this game is a lot of combat, and your weapons are absolute garbage. Your main method of attack is this electric shock that has the range of a wet biscuit.
It literally has a reach of about your diameter, which is not very big.
Right. And it's the thing that you not only use to attack, but it's the thing that you use to set up your other major attack. A little while later, you get bombs. Bombs are stationary when they are first laid down. If you want to actually use the bombs as a melee weapon, you've got to use your electric shock. But okay, here's how aiming works. The bombs will move in the opposite direction you are currently moving. At that precise second in time as well. So what this ends up happening is you're going to have a lot of inaccurate shots. Like you were trying to go for uh, a leftward shot. Watch it go 45 degrees to the right.
Because you gotta quickly reverse direction to shoot at something accurately.
Yeah, and that gets into the other thing. The movement in this game is based off of actual physics to a point. Like that
Yeah,
is to say,
you move with momentum. You have to hold backwards a bit to slow back down to a stop if you've been moving forwards.
yeah, it moves not just momentum but inertia. Like you actually have to take Newtonian physics into account. That is to say, you have to push back to you know to stop yourself. You know, and while I guess it's a neat touch, it doesn't make for the most accurate movements.
Mm-hmm.
So what that has the effect of is, you know, your actual combat mechanisms are pretty shit, and it's especially frustrating when you have to do me, projectile combat because this feels like a control style that was dreamed up for something like the 3DS or the Dreamcast or something that had only one analog stick. I'm like, I have this entire other analog stick. I'm like, I like I'm guessing it was a plot point because you're a head probe or something. But I mean, from a from a real terminology here, it's utter shit. Like, no one would actually design something this way because it's so much more efficient to have, something that can point and aim. Now, it's like I don't if they were going for the unconventional. I just don't know the thought process here because it's so bewildering. Like, um, and it's frustrating because you know you do a lot of combat, and things do get. I will say the game does pick up when you get movement improvements. Like some of the upgrades you get are, um, well, just a general upgrade of speed. But the other one is, I think Ogre dropped.
Yep.
I, maybe he got bored. Anyway, um, the other big upgrade is a dash function. Like, granted, I haven't gotten all the upgrades. I saw a review that called this a short game. I've put in about 13 hours, and I'm only about halfway through the game. Now, granted, I'm not sure if that's counting collectibles or actual progress, but in some terms here, I'm only a little over halfway done with the game. Now, I guess it's going to be. I guess it is faster if you're just going through the game, but I mean, a big part of this is exploration. Now,
Yeah, there's a lot of ways there are a lot of times you like get a hint that if you explore in a certain direction, there might be a thing.
yeah, and I'm like, and yeah, this is definitely a spin on the Metroidvania genre. It claims to be, it's you explore things in a quasi non-linear fashion. You get upgrades, the whole 9 yards. The only, I suppose, difference is you're not doing any actual platforming. You know,
Since you can fly.
yes, like its mechanics are akin to a game called Unmechanical. Or if you want the game that this is really aping, it's very clear it wants to be insanely twisted Shadow Planet. Only, I'm sorry to say, guys, it's not quite on that level. Mainly because I can't get over how bad the combat is. Uh, and I suppose the other thing is I did tire of its level gimmicks at certain points. Like right now, I'm in this one area where I have to push this exploding rock around, and it's kind of tedious. It's the same kind of tedium I have with the combats. It's just not fun at all. It's not enjoyable. It's not anything. It's a chore. And it's still a solid game, don't get me wrong. It's just, if you were expecting an all-time classic here, this is not that game.
Yeah, it's not that exciting a lot of the time.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, it might be a good game to play, like, if you're, it can work as an actual sleep aid. I mean that in an actual good way. Like, it's not so much boring as it's got a relaxing atmosphere. It's just you may be jolted awake by your bomb going in the exact opposite direction that you wanted it to go, and you're under a timer. This happened to me. Anyway, Formulates has been released on a bevy of systems. It's one of those games that has pretty much hit everything with a pulse in this snapshot of time. It's on the PlayStation 4, PlayStation Vita, Wii U, iOS, PC, Mac, and Linux. So access to the game should not be a problem, I guess, unless you just bought a Nintendo Switch. But, it may come to the Nintendo Switch. I don't know. Really, the only system it dodged was the 3DS. And that's probably a power issue because, in spite of the initial looks, there's quite a bit more going on with the game than just what is going on the surface. Like, there are a lot of enemies that show up that come to mind. Like, this game does actually feel a bit more advanced than even a new 3DS could handle.
Yeah.
Let's see. Pricing. So, Formulate is going to run you $15, which is a pretty standard price for for a new indie game in this day and age. $15 is about where I'd put it.
And if you want to get it on the Wii U, it was part of the Nindies at Home promotion a while back, and it just came out recently, so I think that discount is still in effect if you get it soon.
Yeah. I will say I did enjoy some of the puzzle solving in the game. Some of it got really inventive, like the bit in the ice caves with the spider comes to mind, or trying to defeat the Venus flytrap boss. I won't spoil anything, but you had to think outside the box in those regards. I think my least favorite part was the timer puzzles, because especially before I got the movement upgrade, because
your base movement speed is not very fast, and
I will say
because of the momentum, it's easy to bump into walls and stuff.
I will say movement's another reason why I didn't particularly fall in love with this game. It was really it gets really kludgy after a while and sludgy, and it feels like a chore. It kind of wears on you, which is why I had to play this game for an hour and then come back to it, because it just it was like a lot of little annoyances piling up, just done. I suppose in score attribution, if I have to attribute a score to it, like a 7, it's a solid game. It's just being held back by by some understandable design choices and some baffling design choices. I understand why they went with movement-based physics. I still don't understand why there's no aiming mechanism in the game.
Yeah.
Um, any other thoughts you have to add to the conversation here, Galix?
Um, it seems like an interesting. I did not get to play much of it. It seems like an interesting game. I don't regret getting it, but yeah, it's keep an energy drink around if you're at all relaxed, because it's pretty easy to chill out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's pretty, and I feel like the threat is pretty well encapsulated. So like you can tell when you're in an area where there are threats. I did pretty early on accidentally get myself stuck in an area because I pushed a rock into the exit of the area I was in. But there's a reset option that basically brings you back to the start of your current area, like a little bit bigger than a room, and that worked fine for starting over there.
Any thoughts from our colleagues here about the game?
I didn't play it, but it looks kind of interesting just visually.
Yeah, I didn't get to play it either, and I agree with Petty Fan. It does look interesting, and like it could be fun, but from a year, yeah, that'd be more frustrating.
All right, so that'll about do it for the Fragments of Silicon reviews this week. Be sure to tune in next week where we review Super Blackjack Battle 2 Turbo Edition, The Card Warriors. Yeah, this is a bit of an odd one as it's a blackjack parody of Street Fighter 2.
Yeah, my understanding is that it has roughly the storyline progression of Street Fighter 2 in that it's basically set up as a series of one-on-one tournaments in different places, but the gameplay is blackjack.
Uh-huh. And all of us have a copy of this. I was given a copy of the game called Desync. You might know this game if you have been watching Adult Swim lately. Um, it's the latest release from Adult Swim Games, so they've been promoting it on the Adult Swim channel. Yeah, it's a techno synthwave first-person shooter. I admit I need to know more about this game, but that comes during the week. So until Wednesday, I wish you good gaming.